Welcome back to my channel. My name is Ray, and we are here to jump into episode 4 of season 2 of Arcane. It's actually been a little bit since I filmed, which is totally fine. I had a Christmas break. There was a whole thing, but we are back. We're going to continue the second act of season 2 because, of course, we know that Arcane is split into a 3-act structure based on 3 episodes at a time. We just wrapped up the first act of season 2, and it kind of culminated in a showdown between Caitlyn, Jinx, and Vi, and I guess Sapphic was also there. But and Vi kind of took the side of, well, she didn't really take the side of Jinx, but there was a kid in the mix and guns flying, and Vi was like, hold on, we have de-escalated, let's chill. And Caitlyn, is all hell-bent because, whatever, she's in her own head about her mom dying. And decided to shoot anyway, even though it was deeply dangerous with a child there. But, and so she took that as an affront or whatever and decided that Vi was just like them other... Like, she was like, if this wasn't real life, she'd be 10 seconds away from saying the N-word. Anyway, she was like, you're just like other them dirty trencher trash. And then she punched Vi in the stomach and then left. And then we found out that Mbessa is going around doing all kinds of shit in the dark or whatever to try and grab for power so that she can, I don't know, escape from the blood feud that she had going on from over Noxus, over in Noxus. And so her plan is to stir up, foment, the issues going on in Piltover so that she can take hold, maybe even take over the city, but at the very least get their hex tech and have an edge over her own issues over in Noxus. Basically, she lost everything, and this is like her last ditch effort to regain power. And she decided to basically declare martial law and then set up Caitlyn to be, I don't know, the de facto leader there. But the problem, of course, is that it's all manipulation, but Caitlyn can't see that because she's a cop and she also is in her own head about her mother's death. So she's like very easily being manipulated into becoming a dictator during martial law in Piltover. And so everything is just going to shit. So we're going into the second act with that. All right, honestly, I'm ready to just jump in. Let's just get into the episode. Yeah, martial law in Piltover right now. Yeah, got a resistance going on, because fuck that. Not the cops, just... yeah. Meanwhile, Jesus. All right, so we have time passing. How much time are we living in martial law? Months? Years? What are we doing? Look at that. Jesus. Oh, I guess they broke up.
They doubled their fortification requirements.
Not the
I never expected this to go on so long. I don't know what I thought.
Yeah. What did you think, girl?
You could call it off. Withdraw from the underground.
Pause. Could you? Because she's not even just like a regular dictator. She's a figurehead dictator. So she's doing all this shit to the underground, and she's not even the one that fully is in power because it's Mbessa's army. It's Mbessa's soldiers who are part of enforcing this, right? So, like, if she were to do something against Mbessa, she doesn't even have the power to stop this. She's allowed this to happen and simultaneously cut her own self out of the ability to stop it or control the situation. So she's like doubly a fool. Like, it's ridiculous.
Make a bro brother squirm. The creepy, the dastardly. Scuttle!
I think it's like actually really small. Like,
Two will enter.
not super massive.
Who knows? Handlers?
Like it's all in like a little fish tank or some shit like that.
I guess you won, and a deal's a deal. I guess.
At least she's not talking to her dead friends from childhood anymore. Oof. Okay, so she wants her hair to be blue.
Ta-da! You like it?
I'm trying to utilize this. Good luck. Yeah.
How?
Yeah.
In a city teeming with brilliant inventors.
Only 2 people know
have
how it
we
works.
managed to unearth
Or
such
3, I guess.
unrelenting
No, probably 5. Because, what? You have Jace, you have Victor. Obviously know how it works. And then you probably have, I never know his name. Hummerdinger? Him. You know who I mean. Probably Jinx can figure out how it works. And then I'm guessing just based off the conversations that Hummerdinger and he had, probably, why can't I think of his name? Why am I only thinking of Little Man, but that's not the Echo? I was like, why did I go back to when he was a little kid? Anyway, Echo, probably, just based off of the conversations that were had between him and Hummerdinger, it's clear that he could probably figure out how to work this too. So there's like 5 people in this city of, like she said, city of genius inventors, but only 5 people can really understand how the hex tech works in relation. And even then, not even all of those know how it works in relation to the Arcane itself. So only Hummerdinger and now Jace and Echo really understand how it works in relation to the Arcane. Although I guess maybe Victor does, because he's slowly becoming like an avatar of the Arcane. That's what it feels like. Like the Arcane is working through him to do shit. Hard to say.
competence. This is their doing.
And yet you refuse to hand her over!
Yeah. Hey, I ain't hiding them right here. See, this is what I mean. This is what it's like to have Jinx actually do a thing. It's so showboaty and it's so over the top because that's who she is. So it should have been so obvious that it wasn't her in the beginning of the season because she wasn't there. If she does something, she wants everybody to know that it was her. She will put her name on every single bullet that she shoots out of her gun. Okay? There is not a single thing that Jinx does that she doesn't want credit for. Okay? I'm just saying. So it wasn't even Jinx, it was your girl.
Jinx.
But she also understands Jinx because that is exactly what Jinx would do.
Advise you on the hazards of professional entanglements.
Nor is that the advice you rushed here to provide.
I know, right? Miss.
It's beyond question that a
Miss, not Miss, I was naked in a bathtub when I had a business meeting. What the fuck do you mean, girl? Sorry, I ripped this word out. I know Mbessa is not talking about mixing business and pleasure. Please.
of Jinx's return will ignite Zornite resistance. Greater cause is there than returning peace to this city.
Why is peace always the justification for violence?
All right. You are super late to be having this realization, Miss Cop. Can't even take her seriously.
We've lost so many. Decision
All right.
is yours, Commander.
Ambassador, you showed up here like 6 months ago. She's like, this city. She's like talking about, oh man, the pain, the sorrow of this city. And it's like you literally just showed up here. You were not originally from Piltover.
Lavish gal is in the city.
Silco spent his whole life trying to rally the Undercity together. Stupid joke that it is, you have the chance to pull it off. We're having a rally tonight. Vander statue. Firelights, your fans, anyone I can bring to the table.
I know Sapphica's
Stick your
really
hand in the
out
dirt if
here.
you want.
Like, listen, Sapphica has been out here from the beginning, from season 1. Like, even when she was like she was with Vander, and was like, yo, Vander, what the fuck is going on? Why are we just content with the status quo here when the status quo is our people are suffering? And totally valid concerns, by the way, in season 1 when we first met her, by the way. And then she moved over to Silco. Probably not a good choice because Silco was a piece of shit. But at the same time, sorry, there's like something, there's like a cat hair floating or something. I don't know. Anyway, she moved over to Silco, and obviously she had, because he had potential to at least act on the things that she believed in. But of course, he eventually, settled for his own little, slice of the pie, let's say, and kind of lost sight of his own dreams of liberation for the Undercity. It's so interesting to watch Sapphica throughout the seasons, throughout the episodes, because she has not really ever diverted from her goal, which has always been the liberation of the people of Zon, of her people. And so it's interesting to think about the way that these leaders that she keeps following, and I loved all three of them. Like, I had a lot of affection for Vander, for Silco, and for Jinx, but all of them were so focused on their own internal, like, interpersonal issues that none of them fully committed to the larger picture in different degrees. You know what I'm saying? And so the only one who came close to that is Echo, actually. Echo, the Firelights. He's the only one who was able to put aside personal beliefs in order to try and make something for the common good. But it's like, you don't necessarily, like, how do I explain it? All of them are necessary for this revolution. And if they had found a way to pool them, their own talents together, this revolution probably would be much further along. Like, imagine a world in which Vander, Silco, Echo, Jinx, and Sapphica all were able to kind of push forward the cause together and set aside their differences with each other in order to present a united front in front of Piltover and the enforcers. The kind of change that they would have seen, but they were, obviously they all influenced each other, and they all ended up being, how do I explain it? Like, obviously who Jinx is now is because of her experiences with both Vander and Silco, mostly Silco. Who Silco is now is because of his experiences with Vander, so they all fed into each other, and they couldn't happen all at the same time because they needed each other in order to evolve to who they became. So we're seeing kind of just the change moving forward and forward and forward as they influence each other. It's interesting.
This
But
fantasy you've been
Sapphic
living out
has
here,
always been very,
it's not gonna last
you know,
forever.
steadfast in her dream.
Don't trip on the way out.
Who is she talking to?
I know Sapphica's
Her
right.
sister? Is it Vi?
I probably owe it to you.
Does she
On
have...
account of the murdering and all. But I got something going now. Mess it
Or
up.
is it Silco's body?
Maybe that's what I was like for you.
Did she go back into the river and find his body and now he's like decaying?
If you care so much about me playing your stupid revolution game, you're really gone.
Yeah, it's definitely Silco. Oh,
And there's no reason
buddy.
to stay here anymore.
Okay. Thankfully it's not his dead body, it's just his empty chair. That would have been a bit macabre. Wow. Here's Vandra's statue. A lot of memorials, huh? It's the kid. She's a little baby. Probably should have done that with a knife, girl. Whatever this is. What do we think is the relation? Like, what is his goal? I don't understand what his goals are. The scientist, I mean. They really got a tram from the main city all the way out to their prison. A whole tram. That's how often they're shipping people over to the prison. You don't know who
Jinx?
Jinx? What's
Yeah,
that?
never heard that before.
You're
Madam?
not gonna haul me in? Claim the prize? Be the big hero?
You expect me to believe Jinx, the master criminal?
She looks so good, by the way. Sapphic? She's always been sexy, but this whole shortcut bob thing she's got going on, dope. Yeah, let's unlock all these cells. Fuck this. Yeah, none of them know what you look like, girl. 'Cause for whatever reason, even though your pictures are all over because of the wanted poster, like, I don't understand that whole argument. Like, how did that enforcer not know what she looks like when literally her pictures are everywhere? Ridiculous. So these guys know who she is, though. It looks like they're just like disbelieving because she hasn't really been in the flesh among them till now. She's like, ugh, physical contact? I feel bad. Physical contact that isn't violence? Never had that happen before. Oof. Alright, well, this is very moving, but let's get the fuck out of here. The madam from season 1. I love how this thing got into a tram. Like, what happened on the other side of this? Because it seems kind of monstrous. So how did it decide, you know what, I need to get in a tram? Or maybe people were running, they ran into the tram and it jumped in with them. And so it was already on its way over and it was in there just killing people. Oop. They really arrested a baby. Like, insane. Insane. They arrested this 5-year-old. And you're supposed to make me think, like, ooh, there's both sides of this. No, there's not. There's not both sides of this. Sorry. They arrested a child. We really do need some urgency. Let's get the fuck out of here. Yeah, let's just get the fuck out of here. Please. Please get the fuck out of here. I mean, this is dope, but I would have just peaced out, me personally. Oop. Maybe she's just trying to be a distraction. Does he not look like the guy, the cop guy? He also kinda... Warwick? Yeah, it looks like he kind of also looks like Vander. All right, that was episode 4 of Arcane, season 2 of Arcane. Yeah, I don't know. Didn't he kind of look like the cop guy who decided to walk away, right? And you know, I mentioned earlier in the season that he low-key was kind of like a Vander, you know, substitute for Vi. But yeah, so it makes sense that I got like a Vander and a Vander vibe off of him too. But how did he end up getting whatever spliced into the scientist's experiment? Like, I feel like we're missing pieces here. And I guess maybe they're gonna show it later, you know, they're gonna show how he ended up where he ended up. Somehow. But I don't know. It feels a little bit disjointed. Doesn't it feel a little bit disjointed? Like, I feel like I'm missing stuff. And it's not because it's been a couple weeks since I last watched episode 3. It's because the stuff is being deliberately removed for shock value. So that we could have this shocking moment rather than it feeling organic. I think that's my problem so far with season 2, is that everything feels a little bit rushed. And so instead of things evolving naturally and feeling organic, everything feels really both truncated and like missing pieces, missing connective tissue. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not in love with it. All right, let's talk this episode. We had the opening. It's been some time, not too long, just a few months, because the kid is still, you know, relatively young. You know, I don't know how old this kid is supposed to be. I think I said 6 earlier, but I don't know if the kid is supposed to be 6. But less than 12, let's say that. Less than 12 years old. And the kind of world has kind of devolved into martial law, obviously. Caitlyn is the face of martial law, but Mbessa holds most of the power because Caitlyn's kind of an idiot, just a fool, just did not think this through at all. So she allowed herself to be set up as a figurehead for a dictatorship, and yet didn't have the power of a dictator, and instead is, you know, just being used so that Mbessa can have more and more power, because she's so focused on personal revenge against Jinx and not thinking about the material conditions that led to everything that is happening, not just this revenge against Jinx, but rather the whole situation, you know. But she's so focused on that, and she doesn't want to, you know, take a step back and look at her own actions and her own people's actions and rectify the whole situation. Instead, she's just so focused on, you know, she has moments here and there where she is like almost self-aware and can see that something is wrong in what is happening and in her own behavior, but she never wants to take that final step and then take accountability not only for her part in it, but like a general accountability for what her people have done and how this world that we are living in now was created because of the actions of the people in Piltover. Like, they are just as responsible, actually mostly responsible, for why the entire area is in the midst of like the worst relations between Piltover and the nation of Zon. Like, it's mostly you guys' fault. And because none of the people topside want to take responsibility for how the world has gone for the last 200 years since Piltover was founded, clearly founded in the nation of Zon, in their, like, they absolutely came here and then pushed aside the indigenous people or the native residents of Zon. Absolutely, that's what happened. And they built their Piltover, the city of progress, on land that was already occupied. And instead, I'm sure it started off all, altruistic. Oh, we're just gonna have this little place and everyone is welcome, and it's just about the inventions, And then slowly over time, they took more and more and more and pushed the nation of Zon out of their own area. And now we have this whole Undercity. Like, that was Piltover. Like, there's none of this would be happening if you guys weren't pieces of shit. But none of them want to take responsibility for that. So, there's that. Anyway, we also had Caitlyn shacking up with what the hell was her name? Maggie or Maddie, something like that. The other cop, and you know what? I'm of two minds, right? I mean, obviously, I don't have a problem with her having another love interest because she low-key kind of broke up with Vi at the end of the last episode. But in this episode, what I'm not sure about is whether or not Maggie is actually genuinely into Caitlyn, or if she's a plant from Mbessa. I think she's genuinely into her, but I could see Mbessa setting up Caitlyn with a love interest who will help manipulate her into a emotional state that Mbessa can exploit. Let's say that. But at the same time, I don't know if that's actually what's happening. I'm thinking of that Game of Thrones plot line where Tyrion sets up, what was his name? What was his dad's name? Tywin sets up a woman for Tyrion to like fall in love with, and then it turns out that she was basically being sent and manipulated and was spying on him for his father, etc., etc. This is the vibe that I'm somewhat getting from Maddie, but at the same time, she did actually seem genuinely upset that Caitlyn clearly is not as into her as she is into Caitlyn, so maybe not. I mean, it's clear that she wants. Actually, no, it's not. I don't know. It's not that clear. So we'll see. I might be barking up the wrong tree there. So who knows? Mbessa, everything is going not. It's like part of it is going to plan, but the thing that she really wants, which is control of Hextech, is just out of her grasp because all the people that understand Hextech are gone. And her daughter is also gone, but she thinks she was taken by the Noxians. No, she was. Actually, she was. Actually, now I'm remembering that scene where she was in the room after her assistant, her best friend, died. And yeah, she was taken. And then there was like this darkness that came over her and like roses and stuff. And then she disappeared. So we don't know where she is, actually. I'm sure we'll find her eventually, but yeah. A lot of people, actually, I don't want to say a lot of people, but several people missing from this episode. We didn't have a Vi presence. We didn't have Mel. We didn't have Heimerdinger. We didn't have Echo, even at the rally, even though there were firelights there and Echo's right-hand man was there. We didn't have Echo show up at the rally. Jace, you know, none of those guys were there. So I'm hoping next episode we'll get them. We'll catch up with them too. But it was interesting that we didn't even touch in on them. But again, it feels like we're trying to, you know, it might have been that they wanted this story to actually go across 3 seasons, but they only got a 2nd season. So they had to press it into 1 season rather than, you know, letting it simmer and evolve naturally. I'm wondering if that's what happened and why it feels weird, why it feels really disconnected. The writing, I mean. I wonder. But either way, fine. This is a pretty good episode, but it very much feels like we're setting up the new status quo, which makes sense because we had a big a change that happened in the last episode. Now we're getting to understand what is the world like now that martial law has been called, and what is at stake for Jinx, for Sapphic primarily, and for Caitlyn and Mbessa. We're understanding what their stakes are. That opening sequence of the police brutality and the violence, the state violence being perpetrated by the enforcers against the nation of Zon, the people of Zon, ridiculous. Oof. Yeah, so very just uncomfortable stuff to watch. So I don't have too much else to say. I want to know what the hell the doctor's motivation is. I need to know what the hell, what does he have at stake, you know? So that's one thing I'm missing, is what is going on with him. He's just kind of been tangentially there since the 1st season, but we never really got into what his motivations are. Even when he was tutoring Victor, when he was working with Silco, like, we just do not understand what he wants, and he is working. Like, he's the whole reason that they have Shimmer. Like, he's been all over the series, but we don't know anything about him, what his motivations are, nothing. It's time. We need to know more about him so that we can understand why he cares about any of this, you know? So, all right, we'll go ahead and leave it there. I'm going to jump into the next episode. Yes, I have time. I'm going to jump into the next episode. So I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.
Baby, it's whatever. All this ever, but you long gone, it don't matter.